Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another Supercoach Insider podcast. My name is Swizz. We're here on a Friday afternoon because it's Good Friday and the footy is actually on this afternoon. So thought we can't jump on tonight. We better come on and talk some footy now. We have a couple of special guests already jumping on. There might be a few others throughout the show. We'll see. This is going to be a wild old episode. Horse, how are you, mate?
Hey, mate. Thanks for the invite. Good to chat footy with you and the bloke next to me.
Hey, how are we, gentlemen?
Scopes, how are you, mate?
Oh, mate, up and about. I mean, it is the weekend of Easter. It's fantastic. We get a few holidays in there. It's beautiful, but Jesus Christ was on display last night in Nick Dacos.
Mate, as a non-owner, that was so frustrating. I was like, I'll just wait a week. Why not? Break even at 121. He's going to get attention. Friggin' hell. And I'm pretty sure you VC'd him too, mate.
Yes, I did. It was wonderful. It's about, the first time this season that I've actually done a decent VC call.
Yeah, no, all over it, which was good. And did you bring in logging as well?
Yes, I did. It was looking a bit grim at quarter time, actually, but I think that goal really boosted it. So that was very handy to have happen.
Mate, I couldn't actually believe he's scoring early. It's he had 4 handballs, and after 2 handballs, he was on 4. Three, he was on 8, and then all of a sudden got 7 points for that 4th handball. I was like, how the hell is he on 15 from 4 handballs, getting 7 points for that last one? And then I'm like, oh, well, here we go. If he gets any involvement here, he's going off the charts. And then, I was like, okay, I can live with this. He's only on like 30 at halftime, and then he kicks that goal right on halftime. And then see you later. He was off to the races.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. Did either of you two bring him in at all?
I had him and reversed him out, and I was spewing on. As I said, my mate was so big on the fact Houston's coming in. There's going to be a reshuffle. Perryman's going to probably play some CBAs. You got DeGoey coming back. He'll get in there at some point. Not to last night. He was like, he'll be good last night. He was sort of thinking over the next couple of weeks. And probably because I haven't seen a lot of him so far outside of the one game, I was like, oh, he's probably got a bit of a point. And then, of course, reverse and see what happens. And, frustrating.
Yeah, I reversed Dacos out, but I bought in Ned Long. That role was too good or is too good to pass up. He goes under the radar when you're talking the likes of Sidebottom, Pendlebury, Dacos and the likes that roll through that Collingwood midfield. Ned Long isn't a name that's going to pop up off the whiteboard for opposition coaches and go, hey, we need to pay attention to this guy. And he scores the bulk of his points as contested handballs. Yeah, his kick's a little bit rushed, and he reminds me a little bit of Mark McGough back in the day, Scobes, where his kicking style isn't the greatest, but he just has this ability to find a lot of the ball and loves a tackle. And for Supercoach, that's what we want to see.
Oh, absolutely. And I think what works in his favour as well, if you're talking about Sidebottom or even Josh Dacos, Pendlebury, you mentioned Swizz literally just before, Geordie and Perryman, they can all play multiple positions. Like Long genuinely cannot.
Yeah.
And what he adds to our midfield is it's almost an upgrade on Tom Mitchell and almost an upgrade on Geordie as well, because Geordie's in and out like a tampon. He's always injured. It's something always goes wrong. There's no consistency. And with Long in there, it just enables Nick to literally do what he did last night, and that's put on a clinic.
Yeah. He's probably the only good thing out of it, because he still had a break even 28. I think he, correct me if I'm wrong, I went up about 30K. And he's got a negative break even now. So he's still if you're confident on that role and the fact that he's now got the negative break even, you could potentially do it. But obviously last night would have been the extra bonus.
Yeah, it was just, as I said, it was getting a little bit grim there at quarter time, but I think the game, it was weird. The game was it wasn't that contested. There wasn't that many turnovers. I think our structure held up really well, and Brisbane, they really had to slow it down. So that kind of worked against Ned Long's capacity, because he's, as you said before, Horse, he's just a contested ball. And when it was fast, quick going, kind of worked against him a little bit. But the prior week against Sydney, that's his literal put it on a plate for him. He's going to score bulk points.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of give an idea there, last week, Collingwood-Sydney, just Sydney alone, had 61 tackles, and I think the Pies had 70-odd, where last night combined, there was only 60 tackles in the game. It was just absolutely, it kind of felt like basketball. One team ran it up one end and the other one ran it up the other when they turned it over if they didn't score. So a very different style of game.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Completely. It was just, I don't know. There was at stages where he was, and I don't think he'll come out of the midfield either, purely based on the assignments he got. Like, Dunkley is a huge body. Neil runs all day. I mean, Will Ashcroft is a superstar, but he didn't turn up last night, which was fantastic for Pies supporters, but not good for Brisbane supporters. But when he was manning up on Dunkley, consistently niggling with McCluggage, you just knew, like, it's not, you're going to be in there for a short period of time and then, catch it back to the twos.
Yeah, well, it did look good. That was the other worry for me too, because you're looking at that Brisbane midfield and they've got so many great players and pretty well out of Neil. They're pretty well outside of Neil and a little bit of Levi running around. The rest of them, as you said, didn't turn up. Like, Will wasn't there at all. Dunks floated in and out at stages, but and McCluggage started like a house on fire. Like, here we go. Suitcase is going to get another 120, 130. And he's second half. It felt like he'd just gone home as well.
I was like, fantastic. Obviously, everyone knows I go for the Pies, but it wasn't Brisbane-esque. And I know that's not a word, but I don't know many Brisbane supporters, but I think that is not them. That it doesn't seem like that is going to continue forward, and hopefully for them that was just an outlier. And obviously, us playing them, that worked out perfectly for us.
Brisbane have only been just going. Brisbane have only been just going this season. They haven't been blowing teams out of the water. They haven't, while they've been undefeated, they haven't been convincing in doing so. Last night, like, no one expected a 50-point Collingwood victory, but this might be the reality check that no one goes through the season perfect. Zorko's body language was shit house last night. There was a few players that were down. I'm with you, Scobes. Collingwood played really well, but I think this is an outlier, and this isn't the Brisbane that we know. They'll bounce back next week.
No, and I'm sure both of you saw it, and I don't have any issue with it. I just thought it was weird when Fags and Zorko had that interaction, and Fags was just telling him to calm down. Like, that's love to see passion, 100%. But I think the body language post that interaction, him on the bench, hands behind his head, that in itself didn't look that flash. The prior interaction where obviously they've exchanged words, I'm all for it. But it just, I reckon that you can confidently say, if you support Brisbane, I wouldn't worry about last night, because it just wasn't them. It really wasn't. And, like, how many people expected Collingwood to win by literally 8.5 goals? No one.
Yeah, well, I probably know it. Like, there'll be Collingwood supporters obviously thinking they'll win, but not like that. I actually had some concerns, and I know there's a couple of Brisbane supporters that have called up SEN saying that they've sort of been worried because they've been playing, second halves and probably being the reverse Carlton in a way, but the fact that they've sort of been coming home, but they looked at stages really poor against the Dogs, but had that fast finish and got over the line. Even against us, it's probably it's always different when you get to watch them live. And though they did take a little bit of the foot off the accelerator, we obviously got back within 5 goals. They kicked 14-1 from their 15 set shots that day and kicked a couple of goals of the week, including Will Ashcroft's, where you've got guys, their 4 main midfielders absolutely could have not dominated us anymore. And even with all that, it took, like, most teams with set shots at best are going 66, 70%. And they had to go 95% to get that and kick a couple of goals out of their ass. And that's against arguably the worst team in the competition. So I was thinking then there's some signs there where that should have been on all the stats and metrics, 100-point win, and they're limping over the line. And then against the Dogs, they had to come from the cloud. So, I thought that might have been some signs there. It'd be interesting to see now, because nothing worse than you get that situation. The coach is going to be probably pretty ruthless with them this week. And if you're St Kilda, you're not going to be loving the fact that you're going to be coming up against a pretty fired up Brisbane next week.
Was last night the first time we saw Brisbane really challenge us across half forward since Joe Danaher's retired, and that they struggled to get any sort of constant movement forward of centre?
Yeah, 100%. It was such a well, and there was multiple parts for it, but it was such a great defensive game from how the Pies set up. Like Darcy Moore, if he gets up or he doesn't, it's obviously going to be a big loss. As much as I like to take the mickey out of the Collingwood captain, he's having an absolute tremendous season. But they all played their role down there. Even like guys like Perryman who were pushed back was still played their role, did what they have to do, and they just constantly got in the right positions to block any sort of run that young Morris was going to probably have at it. Hipwood, we know, is a confidence player. If he's not, he looked like early, you would say, here we go, Hipwood's backing up from last week. But the moment they blocked his runs, he just completely goes out of the game. And they did a fantastic job on Charlie Cameron. Like, he was pretty well unsighted all night. So, massive credit there to the Collingwood defence.
I was just from a Collingwood perspective, and that's purely just on, I guess, the most recent encounters. The biggest loss is easily Danaher, because even when he was at Essendon, he would slaughter us. And that might not be, kicking bags, but it's just we don't have a matchup for him. And I don't think many teams do, but it's just like Membry against Carlton, for example, he always kicks bags, always plays well. It's always these players that they have one bogey team, and when they're not playing the best or they're just going mediocre, then they just hit form. That's what Danaher does to us. And for him, obviously, he's retired. He's not playing. He's not just missing from injury. But that was massive. And I want to ask you, Swizz, does Charlie Cameron, why is he not getting dropped?
Mate, I think that with this sort of stuff, they always back in the senior guys. And we can look through probably every team like this. And for the guys also, a quick one, if you've got the Supercoach questions, we will get to these soon. Obviously, the review of the Collingwood-Brisbane game, because it has happened. We go through this. But, there's multiple times where I was really wrapped with McQualter setting the standard, saying, Tim Kelly, you're out the week before, because so often these senior players, and we see it in not just AFL, but like Test cricket, you name it, we can go through it. How often we go, how's this guy not getting dropped? And they go, no, we'll back him in. And because we know what he's done, we know what he's more likely to do than what a rookie. But the clubs that have actually got the confidence to do this, and like, for example, Collingwood right now with Ned Long, you actually sometimes find somebody that you might have not, because you've given them that opportunity. And maybe there is somebody in the wings for Brisbane. And obviously they're probably going to back Charlie in for another couple of weeks. But how long does bad form do you let it keep affecting the team? Because if you're not impacting in any way and being in the sport that we're in, it's too hard to play 17 versus 18 out there in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. You mentioned McQualter as well, and I completely agree. I agree up until the point that Tim Kelly was named again.
100%.
Someone of that caliber only having 20 possessions and kicking one goal, and I know it's not about – McQualter came out and said it's not about the stats and all that. That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. You cannot drop a name like Tim Kelly and he goes back to the twos and has 20 touches and one goal, and then he's back in.
Where does it get you? Like talking
just over 60% time on ground in the waffle last week too. So it was managed minutes.
Well, I talked to a couple of people.
What's the point in that?
Well, that's it. Well, I talked to a couple of people who actually saw the game, and I saw some highlights of it. And they said what he did with the ball was fine, and he was among the best without being he was like, okay, if you're naming the sixth best from your team, as most football, local footy, AFL, you always have, he was probably that sixth best. He probably squeezed in. So you're like, okay, you're up against Waffle, which is pretty well the equivalent of our VFL over here, and you're a guy that's meant to be the best midfielder at the club, one of the best midfielders in the league, because of what he gets paid. That's the expectation, because he's getting 800K plus a year. most players getting in that situation, and we've seen this time and time again when players have come back from injury, they go down, they play a half, and they get that 20 touches in a half without even really breaking a sweat. And I know obviously the shorter time on ground for him, but still at the same time, he didn't dominate a game, which he probably should have. And not just that side of it, but I would have wanted to see him tackling, like his life depended on it, but playing back there. And I thought it was everything that McQualter did great last week, and dropping him has been taken away by just bringing him back in straight off. So
it was more of an attitude thing than a football thing.
Well, I would have thought so. And I guess they've sort of thought because they had the worst contested possessions in probably their history they've ever kept this stat. They're like, okay, we need to get the senior body in. But I'm like, well, you're rubbish anyway. You're losing games. Like, I get they're probably thinking here may be a chance because against a slightly undermanned Bombers without Caldwell and Parrish in that midfield, here's, we might be an off chance here to beat the Bombers. And so I guess that must be the thinking within the match committee there at West Coast. But at the same time, I would have made the bigger stand and gone, okay, let's just put Harley Reid back in there. Let's maybe give somebody else an opportunity, move the magnets, and we'll continue to send the message to say, if you're not cutting it for the standard, you're not going to play in the senior team.
But why? I don't understand. Like, to me, that just screams. McQualter said to him prior, like it's come out and before everyone or anyone ever knew about it, he said, mate, you're not going to be playing next week, but the week after, you're in. It just screams like, I need to do something, but it's going to be okay, and I need to buy myself a week. Like, let's be honest here. Oscar Allen is managed.
Yeah.
What's he managed from?
From he hasn't. It's not leather poisoning because he can't get. He hasn't touched the ball.
The only thing he's done all season is literally meet with Sam Mitchell.
Yeah.
Like, it's. I mean, if that's a senior bloke in your team and it's managed, what is that sending? Like, what message does that send to Clay Hall?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the frustration, Corey. So, and I apologize, some of these guys have put up questions because we know, but yeah, Hall over Kelly. What does it show, Hall? Like, he probably had a slightly downgrade game on what he's probably had in the past. There was some moments there, but it's a young fella. It's going to have. He's that same situation as Ned Long. I look at them as very similar because they're pretty well the same size. They play that same role. They're more handballers. They win the clearance and they handball off to the better ball users. And that's what Ned Long does for you guys and does it very well. And it showed how he's fitted into the side. Clay Hall was the exact player at West Coast. He had a down game. It's expected when you're a young fella. So what do? Drop him straight off? Unless there was an injury that we don't know about. But it seems strange to drop a young fella like that and go, hey, because we're bringing back a couple other young fellas. But in the same time, they're bringing back the guy that they dropped for this reason. It's even if you're bringing Kelly back, I'm not dropping Hall for him. Maybe, because Allen's out, they want leadership, play him in the forward, do something. Send Kelly down to half back, whatever the situation was. But it just felt weird that they're dropping this young midfielder who they want to build. They want him part of this build with Harley Reid because they've identified as him as the body type that they want next to him. And then, 2 weeks later, you're out. And he was dropped after that Brisbane game, which he played really well in. And they're like, back you go. See ya, we're dropping you for a week. Yeah, I don't like the messaging coming out of there.
Having played some footy as a junior with Minnie in Gippsland, he's a ripper bloke. Really, really good bloke. I don't think this should fall on Minnie. I think if you have a look at the structure of the staffing at West Coast and you know that they've got a new president coming in next year, a lot of their board's not going to be there. Like, there's empty spaces everywhere. They're having to stopgap for this season. So you can pretty much write this season off from a board point of view and an off-field point of view. And Swizz, you've been around footy for a long time. Shout out to the 2022 graded young sportsman of the year. Pardon me. But in order for on-field success to come, you need to get your off-field stuff right. And your players are ultimately just pawn pieces. They're put in places in order to succeed. So unless you get your off-field stuff right and get that successful, then until that happens, your on-field stuff is going to suffer. Mm-hmm. West Coast are in that predicament at the moment. I agree they should be playing the kids because they're the way of the future. Are your Tim Kellys and these sorts of players going to be part of the next flag at West Coast? No. So why are you playing them? Is it because, look, Tim Kelly's the best player that we've got this week and we got smashed at contest last week? Probably. But again, like you said, Scopes, what message does that send out to the supporter base? Is he just a stopgap so we only get beaten by 10 goals instead of 20 goals? Or do you just go, fuck it, strip it right back, play your Gregos who's coming through the VFL, play your Bo Allen when he's ready, play your Elijah Hewitts, play these kids in prominent positions, let them go through their teething issues while no one's expecting anything. And then when they get 30, 40 games together, their chemistry, West Coast gets their off-field stuff right, their staff, their management, all that sort of jazz, then they start to see results.
Yeah, completely. I mean, Swizz, you spoke about like Harley Reid as well. I mean, he's not even the best Reid in Western Australia.
No, he isn't right now. No,
and it's just like what he's clearly a midfielder. What's this? I know you're trying to get him into the game, put him down to halfback. Everyone knows it's the easiest role in football, but like, why is there the changing? Like, as far as I'm concerned, if you're not in now, then like what are you trying to do? Are you auditioning for a contract at another club? Like, what? The kids are there and they're wanting to play football. Clearly, it's their job, and I'm sure that
Doan, let us know. Are you an Eagles supporter or just an onlooker? But I do agree with Horse a little bit. It's the people around as well. But you keep going, Scope. Sorry, mate.
No, I was just going to say, like, and it leads me to my next point. Like, I completely agree with what you said, Horse. Like, it's the board, the coaches behind the scenes that are so integral to the on-field stuff that, like, they don't cop the abuse if a player plays shit, but the player does. I mean, Collingwood's best acquisition so far, it's not, I know Dan Houston's not playing, but it's Matty Boyd as the midfield coach. Like, it's been tenfold since he started doing what he's doing. And it's just like, these poor kids, I mean, like, what are they meant to do? Are they meant to just play a ripper game like Hall did against Brisbane and then be worried that they're going to get dropped over someone that performed to a lesser extent? Like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. And as far as that continues, then the on-field success is going to be up and down.
I think we see this right now with the different clubs and the different messaging. Disappointed with probably maybe the messaging for my club because of the whole Boulder situation, but that's a different discussion. But in regards to the playing, they've obviously gone, yeah, we know the senior bodies we want around the young fellas. They're going to play, so in keep, so Taranto, Hopper, you name it. But clear direction on the kids. And it doesn't matter, I feel like, if they're having a good game, bad game, they're playing their role, and we're going to give them every opportunity. St Kilda seem to have clear messaging about that, and it's probably added a bit more energy to that group, adding your Max Halls and watching them live a few weeks ago. They do seem a different club right now with that. I heard of a couple of the Adelaide players talking about the fact that Draper, even though he probably hasn't had the full-on opportunity being sub, but the energy that he's added to the group, and there's this long life, Adelaide supporter who's wanted to be part of the group and has brought something in where, for clubs in particular, West Coast and Melbourne, I couldn't tell you on any given week on what they're planning to do around match committee, what their game plan is, structure, all that sort of stuff. And then if you're a junior coming through that, like, what are you thinking?
As an Essendon supporter, I'd like Melbourne to continue thinking that way because we got their first pick.
Yes.
Oh, I don't blame you. I do not blame you. And that's worked out fantastically, actually.
I'm so annoyed because that's what the pick I wanted. I was predicting Melbourne to be the shambles this year, and it's shown. In saying that, if you're thinking about getting Petrarca, no problems. I'd nearly hold a week. Well, maybe we'll throw in a couple of these Supercoach questions because we do have some fans here asking, and they want a couple of them have pinpoint you guys to ask some of these. So we'll flick on that, and we can get back to some more footy chat soon. Hey boys, love your work. Yeah, waiting a week on Dacos has killed me. Yeah, you're not going to be alone. A lot of people it's actually not that much of an ownership in the top 1%, as much as, like, I think the overall competition rankings are going to change massively this week.
Yes.
Okay, lads, need two of these on field: Davidson, Cleary, or SPP, Lindsay, and Gross. So, and I think this is a dilemma for a lot of people. What sort of rookies would you want to play on field if you've got the choice? I think the big one a lot of people are asking is Cleary and Gross to bring in, and who you're playing on field if you are bringing them on. Scopes, maybe start off with you, and then I'll get your thoughts, Horse.
Or I reckon if you're only playing two of them, it's Davidson and Gross. I don't think there's much difference between, say, Cleary, Sam Pepper, and now I guess Lindsay's new role.
Horse.
Yeah, we're hearing little whispers that Gross may be sub tonight, so I'm not going there tonight.
Who was
Davidson
that,
against it's sounding like he may be sub tonight. He's got a sore shoulder. So
Who?
West Coast are
Sorry.
trying to manage him through. Gross. Or
Oh,
Gross.
yeah. No, sorry. As soon as you said that, it cut out. No, continue.
Yeah. Davidson, he plays against St Kilda, who are the third best team to play against for wingers. And the last time he played at Marvel, he scored 129. So I'm definitely fielding Davidson this week. Cleary, I'm really sold on his role. We know that during the preseason, he was training with the Sydney midfield. He's come in, he adds an element of forward pressure, but is able to go through the midfield if needed. I think his job security is a lot better than what most people think. SPP, I started the year with him. I was going to trade him. I ended up needing to keep him 1 week, and it's worked out like pure gold. So I'm happy to have him there. No confidence in playing him week to week because we know he can shit the bed.
Yeah, I made the mistake there, Horse. I had him on the bench last week because I ended up putting Kako, thinking Kako against Melbourne. He's getting 50 points without kicking a goal. Surely kicks goals. But SPP, his form, I should have known better because his form at Adelaide Oval is worlds apart from playing away.
Isn't it?
So I guess if SPP goes all right, or you can possibly hold him another week. If he's got the home game next week, play him. But this week is the away game. Bench him, and I would much rather Cleary on field, and that's what I've actually got at the moment.
So Davidson and Cleary for me are the two I'd play on field.
Yeah, no, I do like that, and I've got Lindsay as well because I've got all the rookies. It's probably another question. I don't know if we've had it yet, but if Gross is likely to be named sub, would you potentially pivot and bring in Sard if he's not named sub for the Bombers?
No.
Have a look at. I don't think that's a possibility. Have a look at Essendon's bench. Like who?
I don't think it is either. I was just putting the question out there because I know someone's going to ask it.
Even if he's not sub,
more than me, Horse.
Yeah, even if he's not sub, I'm not picking him, and because his first two games he's been sub, so he needs to. He's something that Essendon are missing. He's got that pace. He's got that dare. He takes the game on, which as a supporter of the club, you love to see it. He brings something that Redmond, Ridley, McGrath, they don't possess. And it's quite exciting to watch. But from a consistency point of view, is he in the best 22 each week? I hope so. But I don't know what Coach Scott and the people behind the scenes are thinking. So the fact that he's been subbed the first two games, it doesn't fill me full of confidence. And does it mean in 2 weeks' time, he's a dead rookie on the bench?
Yeah, I think that's the case too. So that's why I've kind of avoided. It's probably, what would you, if Gross is named sub, and people have got him in at the moment, do you stick by that, thinking he's going to get opportunities at some point and he's still going to make cash? Or do you try to, because the only real other places to go to is probably going early on Carroll.
Yeah.
I just don't think you trade.
Yeah. I'm not bringing him in, not this week.
I had the decision.
Yeah.
It was, I could either boost and it was Long, Gross and Cleary in. And then I just thought, no, I'm not like, and this is nothing against Gross or Gross. It's just like, again, Clay Hall, he didn't do anything wrong. And then he was gone. I just, that job security there. Nah.
Yeah, it's a big worry. And now that gets hard because people are obviously, I think if you needed to do the trade, so some people try to trade in dead rookies out, like in this case for Corey, Hasty, Stone, and Henderson, especially in that case, Henderson and Hasty. And you need that money to get whatever premium you're bringing in. In this case, it's Rosie. It might be people have already done it to bring in Dacos last night or bring in Matty Rowell or Anderson. Like it could be worse. Like hopefully there's an early injury, he gets on and he still scores fine. But as Horse was saying, he might be a little bit sore and they're trying to work him through and he could easily be out. Probably the only good thing is if he goes out, probably Hall's the one that might replace him. So, yeah, there might be some swapping between the two. You'd think he's going to get opportunities at some point. So, yeah, if you needed the cash to do whatever you're doing, fine. If you can reverse and maybe, let's just say, for me, I was looking at maybe Moraes. If Moraes is still named, you could probably hold him and hopefully he gets maybe a score. If not, just trade him next week. So, yeah, it's just a frustrating because they're only the kind of rookies. And if I probably, it probably makes me annoyed that I didn't go long as much now. But, yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes. From Harry, G'day Legends, thinking Hall, Nevitt and Moraes and Hall, Nevitt. I would nearly probably keep Nevitt if he's named, but Hall, Moraes, Stone for Gross, Sard. So we've just talked about Sard being not. Horse has talked to us about potentially Gross being the sub and trying to bring in Cleary, which is fine. I think Cleary we're big on, and Track. We'll put that aside. We'll just ask, what are your thoughts about Petrarca? Horse, you can start this one.
If you see him as a top 6 forward, awesome. But for me, not overly sold. I think he leaves Melbourne at the end of the year, which to some may seem like big news, but we saw Scobes last year. He's not so much his body language, but Melbourne failing to get around him after he got hurt against Collingwood in that game. And it sort of turned to shit at Melbourne a little bit there. So I think that while he's relatively safe, there are others around that price bracket that I would prefer.
In, I guess, Supercoach terms for this question, I wouldn't be boosting. I'd just be bringing in Cleary. That's it. Just a dead rookie to Cleary. Simple. You'll be able to work it with DPP. And if we're talking about poorly run clubs, Melbourne is top of the fucking list. You don't take 2 first-round picks for Petty. I don't understand that. Clayton Oliver is not the player that he once was, and he's got how many years left on his deal? And I can guarantee you right now, maybe not at Collingwood next year, but we will be picking Christian Petrarca in our forward lines, not in a Melbourne jumper, because there is no way he stays there. No way.
Yeah. And just a quick one, we've got a news. So Dersma and Lord are the subs for today's game as well. So not that it's going to affect too many people there, but thank you for that, Stuart. We do appreciate that. I'll keep that up for a second. Thank you, Stuart. Yeah, you're 100% right, mate. And I'm probably one of the biggest guys who loves the whole trading, draft, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's just I could sit here with you guys and talk it for hours on end. Some of our listeners would love it and probably would get listeners jump on. There'd be others who'd jump off and say, please, no more, especially at this time of the year. But yeah, I think you're 100% right. Melbourne had the opportunity. They thought they were closer. I think it was around the fact that Gawn's still there. And you do have a generational ruckman, but the problem is now that generational ruckman, wouldn't be surprised if this is his last year, maybe one more after this. And that's where the problem lies now, because they've gone all in, signing these guys up for long-term contracts, including guys like Viney, which is just another ridiculous contract for the length of time it is. Unlucky what's happened to Brayshaw, but that's footy, unfortunately. Players do retire early, get injured, stuff like that. It happens. But they've got these situations now where they're tied up with these long-term contracts. You're probably getting your most exciting player, Pickett, out the door at the end of the year as well.
I don't understand why they're playing him. I reckon if you have any inkling that a player is going, catch you later. If you're not going to be part of the system,
If boosting trade value.
There's the two worlds. If Pickett was playing for Collingwood right now, or one of the top teams, 100%, because what you are trying to do is to win the flag. So it's a completely different story. Where if you're obviously down the bottom, it's a completely different argument. Maybe they're trying to twist his arm, but by the sound of it, he's so far gone, it's not funny. I would, in the way I probably look at these situations, because you don't want to obviously just drop him because it does lose some value. I'm looking at my team and going, what position do we have where we don't have the young fella in, where he can play, where it's not going to affect and probably helps the development of the team at the same time. So if they don't have the small forward, then Pickett plays there. If they don't have the back pocket or half back or whatever, Pickett, you're going back there. and play there because a bit like I think Sydney were preparing themselves at one point about Warner playing a lot more forward, but it looks like he's going to get the commitment now. But they were obviously putting a plan in place where, well, Warner, if he's not going to be here, well, we don't want him taking up CBAs, even if we're in contention. Let's get the next midfield risks, which is going to stick around. I don't think you've dropped them completely, but yeah, you put them in the position which works for you as a club.
Just been sent a message, mate. Jesse Hogan out tomorrow for GWS. Xavier O'Halloran in.
Huge.
No, that's terrible. I've got him in a multi to the Coleman for Dacos Brownlow, so we need him.
He's been pulled out with a calf. That's all I've got.
He's getting changed. Oh no, actually, I've already picked the Crows. Oh, amazing. Okay, so no, that's good. Don't need to even change it. I've got that. Yes, JG. Supercoach Hub scope. Should I captain Sardis? Oh yes.
Mate, tell you what, Jesus Christ! We spoke about this last night on Team Drop Thursdays, and I was so certain he was going to come back in. But Setterfield, as I've spoken to numerous Essendon supporters about, Setterfield was good, did a job on Clary. I mean, Clary scored well in Supercoach, but as in like effect on the game, completely nullified him and was just a tackling beast. And I nearly threw up when I said this the other night. I mean, Dylan Shield in the midfield looked phenomenal. And I know he can't kick the thing to save his life, but geez, he looked good. And then you've got like, I don't even count Parrish as a factor going, I guess, against Sardis' selection, because Parrish is literally, he's signed till like 2079.
Yeah.
And he's always injured. So it's just, I've got to head off. I'm so sorry. Because
no props, mate. Thank you for joining us.
The great man, Supercoach DR, has literally popped by for a little chat. So I'll talk to you, gents, soon. And
is he there at yours now?
I might be able to get him on just for a quick little hello.
Yeah, get him on to say hello. There's a live TV as well, live podcasting as
it is,
guys. Amazing stuff. There's a few questions we will get to as well, guys, because I do appreciate you putting it there. One for you, Horse. They're really trying to avoid. Talking
myself and rookie coach and I jumped on a podcast with SDS this morning and spoke about a bit of footy and doing a Good Friday thing. So hang on,
butt in. So DR, welcome to Supercoach Insider.
Hello, boys. How are you?
Mate, we're well. How are you, more importantly?
What a privilege this is.
No.
Good to see you fitting well, mate.
He's kind of gone off there on the Wi-Fi. Hopefully the boys can come in a sec.
Managed to get some chocolate, which was good, and catch up with my man here, our new brother from the Sword Play, doing it. I'd say a bit of a jumper presentation almost here.
How good's that?
Check that out. So doing a presentation to the great man. So, very excited. Horse not happy with Nicky Dacos, mate. I faded the great man.
Same with me, mate.
Absolutely demolished me. So not a happy man with Collingwood, but very happy to see my man here and happy to see you boys as well.
I will catch you boys soon. I'm going to spend some time with this beautiful individual. Goodbye, all.
Thanks for jumping on, mate. Talk soon. Well, that's good. We've got a jumper presentation. We got to see DR, which is awesome. For those of the community who don't know, DR's had a few health problems recently, so it's good to see him up and about because we had obviously a few concerns there, but it's flying. It's awesome. So why Horse and I are here, and it's great to have Scopes actually talk some footy and stuff. Obviously, a lot of us could catch up and talk footy all day, but here we do have some questions, so we'll get through. I love the DA. He's a great bloke and that, and I nearly feel a little bit responsible because obviously that day when we all caught up, you went to a different pub and DR kicked on and was like, I hope he's got alcohol poisoning or something bad from the day because that did kick on to the early hours. I did say to Chrissy and Ben, when they come down, we'll let the community know and we'll try to get another one. And if people in the community, it was good catching up with Michael. I know you caught up with him recently at one of the games as well. He's usually on the chat. So, it's great. All right, some of your questions, I'll flick back through these. Who to trade out between Reid and Davidson? I think this is pretty obvious, but mate, you?
Yeah. Murphy Reed's probably the one out for me at the moment. Davidson, I feel like still got money to make, and
Yeah.
I think has a spike game this week.
Yes, I agree. And this could be the worst thing ever because I've kept Robert. I don't know if it's the same, but I've kept Roberts and Davidson on the whole thing that maybe it's because I got burnt a little bit trading out Rosie last week, but I feel like their good game is coming potentially this week, especially because of their matchups. And because the Power have given up some good points to defenders this year, and especially Roberts is a different beast at the SCG, and same with Davidson under the roof playing against this, the comment before about the whole wingers and being the third best team to score against. So, I'm pretty confident. It's just annoying that the guy that everyone else traded into scored 170 something last night.
Yeah, I'm the same as you though, mate. I held Roberts for that exact, and I've still got Callaghan too. Thinking without Peatling this week, who could have potentially gone to him if they don't run Neil Bullen with Callaghan. Hopefully, he gets me 100 and makes a little bit more cash because that's my way to Dacos next week.
Yeah, if Davidson and Roberts can both pull 110 for us plus. It does stop there. And actually, it probably works out the same. Okay, we've lost some points, but the cash that we'll probably get off Davidson anyway, and the fact that, Roberts, if he could just start getting those few kick-ins, if the Lizard was watching or somebody was cheering to the Lizard to say give him as many kick-ins as possible, that would be good. 740K mid to spend. Now, I do like this. Sarong, Merritt, Rowell, or Sinclair. What are your thoughts there, mate?
As an Essendon man, I don't usually pick Essendon players, but Merritt has such a good month coming up, so I'd probably pick him.
Yeah, I was leaning towards Merritt. I did recommend to a couple of people yesterday get Rowell if you didn't have the money to get up to Merritt, though I probably like Anderson better. But Rowell has completely changed his game this year. Like we've seen in the past, he starts to fade out kind of round sort of 8, 9. They do have a harder draw, but I've got to watch him once already this season. I'm getting to watch him again tomorrow. And the work that he's now doing sprinting out of contests, he might, it wouldn't surprise me if, I think Dacos, the way he's going, is probably going to be winning the Brownlow. And you've got a pretty handy guy in there with Merritt as well. But if Rowley could be one of those guys that features top 3 this year, I think he's in for a ripping year. And it's the fact that he's added that outside game. The way he sprinted away from Clayton Oliver in that Melbourne game is probably, it's just like printed in my mind. And I know Clary's obviously, it's not the same player, but in the past, he wouldn't be able to get out of those stoppages. He's a completely different beast. Sinclair, unfortunately, you've missed this boat. You've got to wait for his price to drop. I think it's too expensive now. And Sarong, I like, but he's just kind of. I think there's a turning point coming for him, and it'll be there'll be at some point where I think Brayshaw probably will put up too many good games. Teams will start targeting him a bit more. And then Sarong will just start to, come into it. But for now, I think you're right. Merritt or Brown are the two for me, even with Merritt's large break even. Which rookie's the better trade out, Patton or Hall? I think Hall's still got a negative break even off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Patton's way down in the pecking order.
Yeah. Got to go. Dead rookie. Probably not playing this week.
No.
Yeah. Calder rookies, no thanks. You've got to watch Carroll. If Carroll puts up a 60 plus this week and his job security looks good and everything, for 99K, you've got to watch it. So
you have to.
That's right. Sometimes it's like tipping. If you want to be a good tipper, you've got to put your biases aside sometimes, and it does make it hard. James, miss picking up Dacos. Welcome to the club, mate. Thoughts on going Sinclair captain to try to point the club? So I am Brayshaw VC into Sinclair as my captain. I know if you were going McRae, but I'm hoping Brayshaw does the job anyway. But I think Sinclair Sinclair and Marvel are just they go together like cheese and biscuits or whatever technology you want to use, mate. So thoughts?
Yeah, I probably would. If you've got Merritt, I really like that matchup against West Coast. Yeah. So that may be a better shout.
There is a part of me is like, I think that there was a world that I could have got Dacos and made one of those moves, and I just go and bring Merritt to try to balance out the for those who have got Dacos. There is another part of me that does think, is there a chance that Merritt gets rested forward a bit tonight? Just the fact that you've come the 2 interstate trains, you guys came back to Melbourne before going back to Perth, and you've got Anzac Day, which is no disrespect to West Coast, but
No.
that's the biggest day on the calendar for the entire year.
Yep, I agree. To, I guess, keep the open mind behind Merritt resting forward a little bit, you also get some really good points for hitting targets inside forward 50 and setting up goal assists. And he's an unreal user of the ball as well. So he may rest forward a little bit more, but if the ball's going to live in Essendon's forward line, that may help as well.
I said to somebody last night, I was like, he could kick 6 this week if he plays 50% forward or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's not like you don't have the forward, the midfielders, because obviously Setterfield's in there, the big body, and he'll just towel. Like the draft stars, and sorry for a couple of people asked me, I haven't put them up recently, but yeah, tonight draft stars, apart from their sort of midfielders, Setterfield is the one to get on that big body midfielder. They don't have anybody that's going to be able to go with him. So yeah, Jared, I know you were on for a while. I feel like Dwayne's World here. Sorry, you've been waiting for 40 minutes. Sorry, I'll get you on now. Traded Dacos in, saw Clay Hall drop, so I did my trade and went Hall to Gross, but bank 400K instead. Yeah, what a mistake. At least you've got the money for next week.
Yeah,
Look,
keep an eye on it, because changes may happen and he may start. So if that's the case, and then someone gets hurt, then he may be forced to play a full game. So just keep an eye on it.
Okay, Fozzie, who should I VC, TDK or Sheasel? Going Brayshaw captain. Sheasel did towel up Carlton last year, but it's like we know Cherry's a tough matchup, would be normally a tough matchup. The thing is, Cherry can't go with him around the ground at the moment because he's obviously still carrying that injury, even though it's minor. It's going to hamper him. So TDK might be a decent shout today.
Yeah, I think so. My VC is on TDK at the moment. The only other way that I'd be looking at going from my side anyway is VC Brayshaw into C revenge game Jack McRae.
Yeah. So that's why I kind of like Sinclair more, because I'm like, Bevo being Bevo, he finds some way to like upset McRae. Does he send Libba straight to him? And they go, there'll be some plan because it's Bevo. Like, where Fagan said he was going to tag Dacos and then they didn't do anything. I think Bevo will sit there and go, no, we won't put any attention. And the first bounce, and there'll be 6 dogs jumping on McRae. And I can see that happening. Oh, I better skip down. Oh, Yaron. Oh my God, thank you so much. Happy Easter to you. How good seeing DR. I know, mate. So anybody obviously at the DR followers out there, we're all the same similar community, guys. Well, obviously we say this a lot. We all know each other. We all get on. That's why we flick onto each other's podcasts. As you see, DR's over at Scobes' house there. And it's great to see him up and smiling and stuff. So it's awesome. So thank you so much. I do really appreciate it. Obviously helps my podcast. Obviously support Horse. I did actually say that, Horse. Where can the good folk find you out there, mate? I usually open with that.
No, that's okay. Insight Fantasy Sports is our channel, mate. AFL, NRL, NBA, NBL, you name it, BBL, we've got it all there. And like you were saying earlier, we have our very own Draft Stars League that we run each game as well. So if you're interested in Draft Stars, come and have a look.
Yeah, 100%. And as I said, I will get onto some more Draft Stars soon. I do obviously play it for every game. And just sometimes I don't get up and do the videos. But feel free to hit me up too if there's any questions. A lot of people do on the X and that, and if you've got X, absolutely keep hitting me up, mate. But as I always say, I do apologize on Saturdays, guys. If you want to get me, the best time is obviously leading into the round before the round obviously starts. Or usually I'm not too bad Friday because I'm usually working Friday, and when I'm on break, I do reply. And obviously not while I'm running my trains, but when I'm on break. But Saturdays, I do apologise, but don't hit me up on a Saturday, guys. Most of the time, I do play cricket even in the winter, and I do captain, so all my commitments do go on that. So there's a few people that's like, oh crap, you didn't get the chance to get back. That is why. Because I'm very heavily, as usually Kev gets on in a test. I have had a couple of you guys I play against. I actually play with JP as well, which is awesome.
Nice.
The Supercoach banter on there is amazing. I've had actually a couple of you, the people in the chat, drop down because they do play against us normally and then usually come down for a watch and a bit of a chat. So I do appreciate that, guys. I won't sit there and say it's stalking and that, because I do have a stalking side, but yeah, probably like Horse, like all of us are pretty approachable. If you see it, it gets weird sometimes when I'm I go down to the London, obviously a lot for Richmond games and stuff, and I'll probably be there Thursday night before the Richmond-Melbourne, and people coming up. And, I had somebody the other day. It's just, I get the most random places, and somebody was like, "Hey, Swizz, how you go?" Actually, I was up in, I was playing poker up in New South Wales, and I walked past, somebody's like, "Oh, hey, Swizz," and I'm like, "Who the hell is this bloke?" And that I was like, and he kept walking instead of stopping and telling me who, I follow the channel, I know you, or whatever, and stuff like that. I'm like, "Say hi, mate." And like, now I'm like,
celebrity status.
I had the VC on Zorko. I'm feeling Sheasel for a day out as captain. It's a risk for sure. I don't know if I'm as sold about him as captain, but hey, mate, it could pay off. But yeah, mate, your balls are still there, and I do wish you all the best, Cohen. What are your thoughts there, Horse?
Very risky. Very risky.
That's my real my worry about it. It's such a big risk. Hey lads, Stam, these trades out Henderson and Camper, I think, Roll, rank these trades out. Who you trading out first? Well, the Bombers, man, there's a Bomber player in there, so mate, I'll hand that one over to you.
Even I don't know what's going on with Zardes. Like, I'd love to see him play, but
how's he not playing tonight? Like, in all seriousness,
don't know. I think because sorry, I've got a fly pissing me off here at the moment. We've got Setterfield that's come in and actually showed a bit last week, and I feel like he needs to be a part of our team to be successful. Yes. So we probably lack that bigger body on the inside. And last week you saw, not just with his possessions, but his two-way running and his pressure at the contest. So that's something that we need. Caldwell still to come back. Then you got Merritt. He's not going to push out Durham. Like, I feel like he's back down the pecking order now.
My personal thoughts, and if correct me if you think this is wrong from obviously a great Bombers man yourself. I actually was going to take Pryor out, put Martin back to his half-back role. I would have given Saad the opportunity on the wing this week, and then Sardis is coming on as the sub, because you're not going to get probably a better opportunity than West Coast. You can't take any win for granted, but realistically, this is probably as easy of a home run as you can get. So that was my own thoughts about it. I don't know if you...
No, you're right. You're right. If you're going to get games into these kids, you got to do it against opposition like this. And the fact that they haven't gone this way, the difficult thing is he's still got a negative break even. So he could come in, play 2 or 3 games and make you 100K. But at the same time, we know that Campriali is a dead rookie at the moment. Henderson's probably maxed out his cash with I think he's got a 50 break even now. Yeah. So in regards to who I would trade out first to last, it would be Henderson, Campriali, Zardes, then Moraes. Moraes is playing and still has an ability to punch out 60s. So he'd be the last one I'd trade out.
Yeah, so, I agree. Henderson, and then, maybe the same order, even though I have gone Moraes over Campo at the moment. But with Hall named out, I can actually loophole Hall. Because I was looping Levi last night on the bench just in case, thinking he might do what his brother did, and that would get a leg up. But, so maybe I'll swap that out in Camporelli because, he's fallen so far down the pecking order. It's not funny. Even though he played pretty well in the VFL the other day, it doesn't seem like he's going to – if he's not getting a game last week against West Coast, probably not getting a game for a while. But weather is beautiful. It's a bit wet this morning. Actually, I worked this morning. It was awful. But, from there. Honestly, thanks, mate. No, I appreciate it. We all try, mate. We do it for the love, and it's great the fact that you've come out and supported. On that too, guys, if you do have a spare dollar, not for us, it is the Royal Children's Hospital appeal today, guys. Obviously do a tremendous work. So,
shout out to Steve on SDS Supercoach donating $128 to the Good Friday appeal this morning too.
Yeah, great, mate. Super bloke, that guy too. Horse and Braino, the best BBL Supercoach podcast duo. Awesome.
Appreciate it, brother.
There's not many of us that do a lot of the BBL, but you guys are fantastic at it. Thoughts on Whitfield captain?
I've got him captain in the draft league, but not for Classic this week.
Yeah.
This is where I feel like the Neil Bullen tag's going.
Mm-hmm. That was going through my head. I'm like, this is the whole reason why they've brought in Neil Bullen for these defense. He does obviously a good link up, but defensive, he plays his role better than most forwards. Yeah, and I would not surprise me. And that was where I think it was Wednesday night. People were asking me, and I had a great question. I should actually get to that, but what sort of pod player that nobody's talking about still that you could potentially get on? And Lockie Ash is one that would not surprise me now if he ends up finishing top 8, top 6, and just has this breakout one year, and then next year everyone gets on him and he just regresses again. But if Whitfield's going to get attention, it's Ash could just go off and do his own thing.
That one player that you just said that no one's looking at, or pod option that you may want to go, I'll say Sam Darcy. I think he's primed and could potentially be a top 6 forward.
My wife's had him from the start, and she reminds me about that every week. And she's like, how did you not start Darcy? I'm like, okay, you come on the channel and talk. She's made one appearance before. And she's like, that's it. So it's Houdini the other day. Thank you so much for this question. I went away. I actually asked some people about this. Which high-priced primo would you consider trading out while everyone else is trying to trade them in? And the one name we kind of came up, because that's a really hard one, because if people are trading them in, there's a reason they're trading them in. Mm-hmm. And so you're talking about somebody who's kind of got high ownership. So we were sort of bantering around the idea maybe Sheasel, because of if with Wardlaw back, and if he continues to play that sort of Rankin forward midfield role, which is probably not as accustomed to compared to his backline. But probably the obvious one now, but not everybody's getting him in, but it might be Zorko if he's going to continue with his bloody shit attitude.
Yeah, I would say Zorko, Humour Cluggage. I don't see that massive ceiling. 142 is averaged over the last 3 rounds. Take your money and run there and just go sideways into an Uber Primo. I think Tom Liberatore is fairly safe. George Hewitt is interesting. If you started with him, he's now at 571k with a break even of 84. He could make another 10k this week, and you could go 585k from George Hewitt into Caleb Sarong or Lockie Whitfield or these sorts of players next week. Nick Dacos, even if you don't have him, that could be another one you get off.
Yeah, 100%. I really like the George Hewitt call. The Cluggage one I wasn't sold on as much as a lot of people are asking me about that. Yeah. So I'm kind of really glad brought up. I know a lot of people are looking at potentially trading Rosie's. A couple of people are trading Rosie back in.
Cool.
I would want, and I was big on about this on Wednesday night. I don't know how you feel. I want to see it against it's not like they had a bad opposition. Normally, Hawthorn obviously a very good team, but a different team without Will Day, but couldn't play any worse. But playing one of the toughest teams in the competition from a defensive point of view and playing that on that skinny ground, and we know halfbacks do struggle more on the skinny ground. So I want to see Rosie probably do it again if you don't have him. Fine, no problems if that's the way you want to go. But I think there's other guys where, unless you don't have the money, premium guys that you know they're going to be premium that you could probably trade in. Holmes is most likely going to be a top 6 from the midfield point of view, because if Rosie doesn't get midfield, you got your merits. Obviously, Dacos last night, probably one of the Gold Coast boys who are genuine premium guys who are probably going to be top of their line. So my feeling is I would probably hold off on that, but I don't know if you've got a different view.
No, smart minds think alike.
Love it, mate. Love it. Corey, I reckon I'm holding my second booster, Micah, Lindsay, and Henderson for Cleary, and we just talked about Rosie. That's funny about that. But mate, if you can find the money to go up, but that also comes in the account where if you don't have Dacos and you need to plan obviously around him next week. But if there's a way to get up, again, I do like, as much as their draw gets harder, the Suns do start playing a lot more at home soon, and we do know obviously how well they go there. And a couple of those games which looked harder, like Hawthorn, like the stats back out where I was saying this last week, Hawthorn are a completely different team with Will Day in compared to Will Day out. And it's and that's, some people are like, some teams can cover them, and it depends on the team, but that's Hawthorn's Zach Merritt. That's you go through most teams and their best player, that is taking out their best midfielder. It's not like you can just bring a guy from the VFL to replace that. There's a couple of teams, Collingwood are usually good at it because they've got a lot more even spread, a bit more depth about them. But a lot of other teams, it's hard to replace your best midfielder out of that. It's you might be able to do it for a couple of games here and there, But yeah, the long-term injury all of a sudden makes Hawthorn. They go from some people having them premiership favourites to I think it's a real struggle for them now.
Yeah, I think Port Adelaide. Actually, I'll identify Ken Hinkley. I haven't been the biggest fan of his, but the way that he game planned last week against Hawthorn and made them kick long down the line and just turn over footy made them look really silly. And whether that's an outlier or whether that's, hey, this is how to break Hawthorn's run and gun type style, that puts a massive dent in their premiership aspirations this year, especially without the likes of Will Day. Sicily still hasn't found form yet. They've been swinging him back and forward. Yeah, there's a bit too much of an unknown there for me now. I still think, as good as Collingwood played last night, geez, GWS look good when they're up and firing.
100%. Yeah, it's hard not to like the Giants. The Suns. You always see this with a team that's around that sort of 13th mark from the year before. Richmond in their first one of those 3 flags. Collingwood did it after they had that sort of bomb year. They get on a run, and if they can win one final, all of a sudden it becomes 2 or 3 finals.
Mm-hmm.
Suns prelim this year would not surprise me at all.
Did you say 13th?
Yeah.
Essendon are in 13th. We're coming, boys.
Coming.
Come on.
The year of the Bombers. All right,
Flag
I'll take a couple others before the footy obviously kicks off. Matt, didn't go Dacos, unfortunately, due to funds. Best forward or mid option for under 530 lads. Have Track at the moment, but looking with somebody a higher ceiling. Like Track's got a couple of decent games coming up, so I know obviously the appeal. But is there anybody from that 530 mark that you kind of like better, mate? It's
Absolutely, I do. Yep, and rookie coach and I spoke about it this morning. It's Dylan Moore from the Hawthorn Footy Club. He's at about 450K. He had 50% CBAs last week. He's looking to take over that role that Will Day left through the midfield, and he's got such good link-up play between the arcs and delivers the ball inside forward 50 well, and is also good for a goal a game. And on top of that, has the highest free kicks for to free kicks against average in the league ever. So at 450K with a ceiling like Dylan Moore, I think he's a nice little buy, and you save money.
Yeah, break even of 87. I should really just ignore break evens because who really cares about them? But yeah, that draw, at least for him for the next couple of weekends, really opens up from next week. West Coast and Richmond. Dylan Moore will absolutely slaughter both those teams, and then they've got Melbourne after that as well. So you could get him in this week. You could wait a week, but definitely, I think it's a great option, and it's been a bit of a dirty word on our Supercoach Insider show because for whatever reason Ben doesn't like him, but I love him. Yeah. get on the Moore train. Are you guys nervous about Boyd playing, even if he's just an emergency? If it's your only loophole, I'm weighing up whether to trade out Claymore or Moraes.
Hard to say because you just don't know what Ross the boss is thinking, do you? Who does St Kilda have this week? They got Western Bulldogs.
So I don't think it is a case he probably comes in. I get his name in that second slot, but against English, the only thing is unless they like Marshall is carrying an injury or something like that.
He has struggled the last couple of weeks, hasn't he?
Yeah, so that might be the little bit of the worry. Kind of looking at sort of their team. Like they've got guys in there who are more likely to probably not dropping Garcia. They've got Liam Henry back, so as long as he's fit, he's probably back in. Zach Jones probably stays. So yeah, they're not going to have Boyd as the sub. Stock has been fairly decent form as well. And then it becomes the rookie guy. So I would probably think you're more likely that Hasty, maybe Travalia miss out. And then maybe it's Boyd, but in saying that, as you said, it's Ross the boss on any given week. It could be anything. I wasn't overly concerned, but I don't know exactly how Marshall's feel because I was thinking the ruck matchup. Why would they have 2 rucks for that one? But I guess you probably got to be a little bit worried. It's always one of the cases you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. If you don't 100%. Do it, Boyd's 100% playing. Yeah. And the worst case scenario would be I could see Boyd not being named, but the late out. If Marshall, doesn't pull up or somebody doesn't, pull up, that wouldn't surprise me at all, and that will just wreck teams completely. Tricky one for you boys.
We just spoke about.
Yeah, trade Roberts to facilitate Merritt or trade Davidson to facilitate Moore. Like I like both of obviously their fixtures and stuff like that. I like Moore's fixtures coming up. Obviously it saves money. I think there's other factors that come into it, Rookie, where do you have Dacos or do you not? Because you're going to have to plan around cash for Dacos for next week. Like it's just a no-brainer. You got to get him. So if you don't have him, you need that extra cash. Then Moore's the cheaper option, and you can obviously use that cash next week to get Dacos. Yep. Where if you've already got him, like Merritt's obviously going to help. And it also depends on how many midfielders and forwards you have too. If your forward line's stacked, well, obviously you're going to go the midfield where the other way around.
Yeah. He doesn't have Dacos. We spoke about that this morning. So I'd say if it's a cash move, I'd 100%. Like I think Davidson will score well, but Davidson and Moore allows you to have a keeper in your forward line and still allows you to keep some cash as well into next week to get Dacos in. Although Merritt for the next, I like Roberts still though. Like I still think there's scope where he can get back to his hundreds.
Yeah, so in a perfect world, you probably keep, because that allows you to keep Roberts. Davidson, who we're expecting to bounce back tonight, but at least you've turned him into a keeper. That's no problem. There is a world where you don't need to do it this week, but you could potentially wait a week and play both. But more, he's at least playing midfield. It's against a Geelong midfield that he could score. He's probably going up some amount. The worst case is what happens if he's not going to go Dacos 170. But what if he goes sort of 130 and all of a sudden it's 30K more than what you could have paid for him kind of thing? And that there is some worry there. So I could understand that. Maverick, I was going to go Merritt this week, but after Dacos, need to save money. So is it Holmes or Rowell? Holmes top 6 to 8. I think Holmes is in that range of that top 6 defender. But I think Rowell, like you look at the top midfielders, I think he's in that discussion from that 8 to 10 as well. So I think you're gonna get a guy that's on the fringe of both.
Yep, splitting hairs. If I had to choose one, I'd probably just go Maxi Holmes purely because he has the DPP.
Yeah, I like that other call. I'm actually going to just lean to the other. I think Holmes is the more likely one to get tagged out of Geelong. And I think there's going to be games where they're going to put more attention to Anderson than they're going to do Rowell. And I think Rowell, if he's got no attention, is just going to destroys it. Hey, Mick, probably good thing that Carroll plays before Gross. So if Gross's name's subbed and if Carroll plays well, can reverse Gross trade and save my boost to get Carroll next week. Sounds like you're all over it, mate.
Good shout, brother.
Here we go. So this is Chris hiding behind his other half's account. So I always see this. I was like, oh yeah, it's just Chris. How good was it after the smashing here? We don't need you friggin' I hate to be amazing. So we do our weekly pod, which hasn't happened the last 2 weeks. Chris cracks the shits the week before because he has an absolute shocking week. Doesn't get anywhere near Ben and I. Don't hear anything from him. Then Ben, even though he was top 100, I think he cracked it because he should have still been top 100. Made one of the moves and went back, and now he's absolutely flying back in the rankings now. So he disappears this week. And so Chris will probably be here this week because he'll want to gloat about the fact that they smashed Brisbane and Ben will never be seen again. And I just rock up every week because that's what I do. Because win, lose, or draw, I'll be there supporting you guys and supporting my boys. And Carl, g'day fellas. Didn't go Dacos sadly. Yeah. Would you go to Merritt given they're all similar price now? And Merritt should go. Yeah, we've answered this. You could go. Just make sure you've got cash to get Dacos in. Dylan Moore versus Petrarca. Yeah, I think the Moore train. I like that.
Yeah, it's not so much Petrarca that I don't like. It's Melbourne that I don't like. So, Petrarca in a team that's going to finish near bottom. I know Essendon have their first round pick. So, then, they're still probably going to push to the end of the year. So be it, but they're not a good team. Dylan Moore in a Hawthorn team that's looking to push for a top 4 spot this year, albeit got smashed last week. I know who I'd rather have. And I'll add too, mate. If that 50% CBA count sticks for more over the next 4 or 5 weeks, are we talking about a Dylan Moore DPP in round 12?
Which would be brilliant. Because obviously you can sort of move around there and keep up your options. What did you say, Chris? I didn't realize Ben missing the game last night because he had to be. Oh, freaking hell.
Just getting stuck into each other.
Oh, it's great. It's going to be great. I was just having a quick look through if there's any sort of bargains for draft stars. Coming back from an injury is always a worry because how much game time they sort of get. But it's hard to ignore Wardlaw today at 12,000 in that team as well. If you the hard thing with all the Blues players, they're all really expensive. So Walsh, Hewitt are both in the 16,000. So it's about as expensive as you can get. Same with the ruck situation. Like you got DeConning and Cherry both at top price. It's potentially probably the game to go. Maybe one of the cheaper rucks if you want to sort of facilitate that situation as well. So these are the sort of games where it does get hard because there's not a lot of bargain options sort of flying around outside of sort of Carroll. And if he can put up another 60 odd, that's fine at 6,800. But I think it's really hard to not go the North Melbourne defenders too, Caleb Daniel and Zach Fisher, especially Caleb. But he's going to get 30 touches, and teams are now at the point where they know they're going to turn it over at some point and just get that that transition back the other way. So they just let them rack up the 30 touches. Like they had 60 between them last week. I don't think anything changes. So it's kind of hard to ignore them.
Yeah, I'm with you, mate.
Yeah,
I'm just rolling through to make sure my draft stars is ready for the Carlton North Melbourne game.
I'm going to go and do it now. But so I think we'll leave it there, guys. Horse, thank you so much for jumping on, mate.
No, thank you, Swizz. It's always a pleasure to come and chew the fat and all things footy with you, mate. You guys run an awesome show and look forward to podcasting again sometime in the near future.
No, 100%. Thank you, community. Obviously, good luck. Happy Easter. Stay safe, enjoy it, and enjoy the footy. And we'll be back next week. Thanks, guys.
See ya.